I'm going to try and give you some insights in the next little while. First, we'll start by showing you an outline of my presentation. We're going to go through why first, stuff about me, your presenter, why think about judging and the role of judges, the engineering notebook, and you heard a great presentation about that this morning, awards, interactions with judges, preparation for judging, the scheduled interview, other contacts with judges, and concluding thoughts, and then I'll open it up for questions. So we'll start with why first. Why do you all participate in FIRST? Anybody? It's fun. Why else? To learn. What are you learning? Okay? Why do you participate, Margot? Okay, we're learning about robotics programs. Okay, what is FIRST? It is an engineering program. We all know that. We talked about lots of things about robots and programming in the last 2 days. But it's also a literacy program. Don't forget that. It's about reading. It's about learning. It's about acquiring knowledge. If you don't read the manuals again and again and sometimes again, you're not going to get it. You're going to miss important details. And I'll explain to you in a little while why some of them are important. Why participate in FIRST Tech Challenge? You're going to learn some engineering skills. Are you going to end up being an engineer when you walk away from FIRST Tech Challenge? No, not yet. But maybe sometime in the future after that. It's a way to learn to communicate effectively. One of the things that has impressed me most about this gathering for the last 2 days is how well the speakers have all handled themselves and how well they've presented to you. I don't think there's been a speaker over 17 years old, a student speaker over 17 years old. You're all young adults. And when I'm a trial lawyer now, and I have been for a very long time, but when I was 17, I wouldn't have been as good as you guys have been here. You're learning to be effective communicators. And that's really important. And that's especially important for engineers. Because they sometimes are accused of not being able to walk and chew gum at the same time. They get focused on one thing and they have trouble communicating. There's college scholarships. I'm not going to stress that a lot, but you should all know that if you go through the FIRST high school programs, there's a lot of college scholarships available to apply for. Your parents will want to know that. It's about gracious professionalism. I hope you all know what gracious professionalism is. I've seen examples of it since I've been here. I trust you'll incorporate that into your day-to-day lives and not forget about doing that. The FIRST core values. If you don't know what they are and you haven't read them recently in the game manual, read them over. Live by them. It's why a lot of people get involved with FIRST and give countless hours of time to helping you to move forward with your lives. And last on this list is the first one got addressed to me is it is fun. Because the tournaments are fun, the interactions with the other students are fun. It's fun across the board. My name's Robert Swider. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for more than a third of a century. My wife and I have one daughter. She's 27. She got involved in FIRST in FLL in middle school. That got us involved in FIRST. I remember going to the first FLL tournament held in the state of Oregon. And after the end of it, I said that fateful sentence, you know, that's a really nice program. I could donate some of my time to it. Some became a very large number of hours. That's how I initially got involved. My volunteer roles, when my daughter was doing it, I couldn't judge, wouldn't have been proper. I was a cuer at doors at tournaments. I was a head cuer. Later on, I started judging. I judged in FLL. I've been the head core values judge for FLL in Oregon for a decade or more. I lost count. In FTC, I've been, up to a few years ago when there were 2 tournaments on one day, I could say that I'd been to every FTC tournament ever held in the state of Oregon. But now we have multiples a day, so I can't say that anymore. In FTC, I've had a variety of roles. X number of years ago, I became a judge for the first time. By the time I was done being just a judge, I was told I was a very good judge, but I have facilitation skills. I can get people to have conversations. I can get them to talk. I can get them to reach agreement. I can train people to be a judge. So I'm one of the head judges in Oregon. I have been for, I don't know, 5 or more years. Why do I volunteer? Because of you. That's exactly why I volunteer. You guys impress me. I learn by watching you, and I get a lot of joy from it. Why do other judges volunteer? A lot of the same reasons is what I've been told. And we like to watch you grow up. I consider FTC participants all young adults. I expect you would treat each other like adults and that we treat you like adults. What do the judges decide? They decide the awards. We're going to talk about which awards in a couple of minutes. I'm not going to tell you all the details of all the awards because there's no reason to do that. They're in the manuals. They're in the judge's manual. Read the manuals. So we consider if you want to consider which teams advance to the next round of the competition, I would direct your attention to the game manual 1 on page 21. And there's a list of the advancement criteria, the order which teams advance. If you exclude out from that list teams that advance because they're a host, there's 15 in the top 50, there's the top 15 ways of advancing. Other than that, and some of them get duplicated, of course, because the Inspire Award winner might also be the captain of the winning alliance. How many do you think are based upon game performance alone? Anybody? Close, but not a cigar. There's 6. So that says to us, how many are based upon advancing from judged awards? Come on, you can all do math. 9. 9 of 15. So, what is your team's best path toward advancement at a tournament? Judged awards. A lot of teams get extremely focused on the robot, as well you should be. Don't do it to the exclusion of everything else. If you do, your chances of advancing go down. 9. Okay, thinking about judging. Who is your audience? You go into a judging room, who's your audience? The judges. The judges are what? They're humans. They're usually intelligent human beings. Some of them are technologically really competent. Some of them aren't. Some of them are engineers. Some of them are lawyers. Some of them are school teachers. Some do a lot of different things. You have a diverse audience. How do you convince an audience? Anybody? You be engaging. Very good. You get their attention. You keep their attention. Okay, here's where the secret sauce comes in. You all think I'm going to give you the secret sauce, right? The judging process. Early in the day, in the morning, you will have a scheduled team panel interview. It will be your responsibility to show up at the door and to be there on time. If you're late, it's on you. You show up, you go into the room, and the judges will interview you. And when I say interview you, we'll talk in a few minutes about what that involves, but a lot of that has to do with you and selling yourselves to your audience. After the judges have met with every team in the morning, that's where my job really starts. I've trained them, I've watched them work, I've made sure they ask good questions, I've corrected them if they're not asking good questions, I've pointed them in the right direction. But then we all go into the judges' room and we hold what's called the initial deliberations. And the judges by that time have spent a little bit of time looking at your engineering notebooks. They've interviewed you. They've formed some opinions about you. And we go into the little room and we go through the awards, not including the Inspire Award. And the judges make nominations from the people they saw for the different awards. It's the first cut. It doesn't have to be determinative, but those are the teams that are going to get the next best, closest look. The judges then, we regroup, and the judges, we break up into groups and they focus on basically one award. Some stay behind and read your engineering notebooks, hopefully cover to cover, and analyze them and see if they follow the rules that are in the manuals. Read the manual. They focus on it, then they split up into teams, and they go out and they visit with you. They see you in the pits. They see you waiting to compete. Some of them spend their afternoons watching you compete and take notes about whether or not, I've heard this in the interview rooms before. Well, this team said, when asked how their manipulator worked and how well it scored, that it worked invariably. It worked every time. Does anybody here think that every time is a likely good answer? Do you think the judges might think, that seems a little deceptive to me? Do you think maybe a better answer is about 90% of the time? Or we've been studying that in practice and we get it 92.3% of the time? Better answer. Because once you say it always works, they're going to go out there to the field to watch you. And if it doesn't always work, what happened to your credibility? After they visited with teams, after we've watched matches, they come back to the room at a time that's preordained and sometimes changes. And they come back and we talk about the teams that we've been watching. They can nominate more teams at that point if they've encountered other teams and they have something they want to say. Just because they come and visit you doesn't mean you're a nominee. I try to make sure that no team's really left totally behind, that they go out and try and talk to everybody a bit, because they learn that sometimes they miss things in the interview. And we'll talk in a little while about how you can help avoid that. After the second deliberation, if we feel pretty good about where we are in the process, we then turn to the Inspire Award, determine who the Inspire Award nominees are, have conversations about them, and determine that. And they're the kind of places that my job gets tough, because my job is to facilitate their conversation to make sure they can reach an agreement, because they have to agree who the Inspire Award winner is. Once we've picked the Inspire Award, we go through the other awards in order. If at any point in any of that process somebody says, I need more information about Team TNT, the name comes to mind because they're sitting there smiling. We go out and have somebody go out and interview them, talk to them further about that issue, if there's other issues. Other thing that happens a lot in the deliberations is somebody will say, well, this team does all this outreach. And I will ask, well, is it in their notebook? What does their notebook say about outreach? Did they really do 37 events since the season began? Or whatever they happen to tell the panel of judges, or the judges remember them having said, although sometimes judges make mistakes too. But Once we've determined the award winners, we write scripts. Anybody here who's been to a tournament knows what the scripts sound like. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're not quite as good. And one place they get information for the scripts is they look in your notebook. Your notebook is a key resource. Don't forget that. So how do they use your engineering notebook? They verify information you gave them. They look for more information that you didn't give them. They figure out what your journey was. They look at your programming. They look at your mechanical design. They look to see what is in that notebook. If you have stuff from PTC Creo in there out showing the pictures of the robot in its different stages of development, if you talk about all those other information things about what you did and how you did it, they have a better picture of you. But we have to remember, in using that notebook, at the beginning of the day, and we heard about this morning, judges only get the briefest time, maybe 5 minutes at the most, to consider your notebook before or just after your interview. Use the summary sheet. It's supposed to be attached to the front cover of your notebook, according to Game Manual 1, which I reread this morning. Do that. In that summary sheet, point them to places in your notebook that you want them to look at. Put tabs in your notebook. Color code it if you want. Do whatever works for you. But make sure they can not only find critical information, but they know where to look for it. Because although my judges are smart, they are not that prescient that they can see everything and know everything without being kind of guided a little bit. So give them guidance. So what helps the judges? Diagrams. Narratives are nice. Problem with narratives are it's a lot of words. Pictures. What's a picture worth? Well, there's a lot of truth to that. One of the most important things they learn from is if you analyze your mistakes. We went down this path, we designed this way, and we figured out after a little while, it was a terrible idea. And this is what we learned from it. Ooh, learning. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for your progress. We're looking for how you achieve what you achieved and how you got there. And the information helps the judges if it's clear, concise, and well organized. Go backwards. Please read all of the manuals. I'll say it again. Please read all of the manuals. That's part of that literacy thing. Game Manual 1 and 2. Game Manual 1 is out. I've read it a couple times already. If you haven't read it yet, when you go home from this gathering, sometime over the weekend, read it. And then read it again. Game Manual 2 will be out on September 10th. Is that right, Kathy? Right after kickoff. Read it. Attend kickoff. If you have the opportunity to go somewhere where kickoff will be, attend kickoff. Kickoff will be really good this year. Look at the engineering notebook guidelines that are online. Take them to heart. I have been, one thing I didn't mention in my judging experience is, although I'm a head judge in Oregon, I was one of the 2 judge advisors for the Western Regional competition the last 3 years in a row. I know the quality of the stuff that's out there. Oregon traditionally puts out really high quality teams. You guys do well at the competition. And one of the reasons you do well is you've read the manuals. You've taken them to heart. And if you don't, what happens at those gatherings, I've seen judges, I've heard them say this very thing. Well, you know, that team was pretty impressive, but then we really spent some time with our notebook. And it just wasn't that good. They do that. We get down to the really good ones, and it gets nitpicky. Did they comply with all of the rules fully? Did they sign every page? I've had Judges, well, this team didn't sign every page, and this notebook is about the same as that notebook, except for that. I think it is eliminated, but it's that kind of nitpicky that I'm trying to point out. It does that. It definitely it shows that you can walk your talk and talk your walk. Read the judges' manuals, read the referee manuals, read the inspectors' manuals. I know there's a lot of reading. Literacy program. Yep. Backwards. Oh, we did that. Oh, that was the one I meant to get. This year, FIRST has put out a team engineering notebook self-reflection form. They like these self-reflection forms. I've read it. It's pretty good. Use it. It will point you in the right direction, if nothing else. It will help you understand what it is the judges are looking for. Same as reading the judges' manual. When you read the judges' manual, it tells you the rubrics that we're going to use to evaluate you. Why wouldn't you want to know that? Okay, this is a list of the awards, and I am going to talk very briefly about them. The stuff on the screen I clipped right out of Game Manual 1. I am not going to read it all to you because you're going to read it soon if you haven't read it already. The Inspire Award, as you all know, is the highest award granted by FIRST in the FIRST Tech Challenge. The team must demonstrate respect with everyone they encounter. Don't have a bad day at a tournament. Don't take it out on somebody else. Don't act foolish. Don't be rude. Don't do any of those things. You're there to be an ambassador for FIRST. Hold yourself to the highest standards. And keep in mind that on that list, among the engineering notebook, must be submitted and must include an engineering section, a team section, and a business or strategic plan. The entire engineering notebook must be high quality, thoughtful, thorough, detailed, and well organized. Take those elements to heart. And your presentation must be professional and engaging. The next award is the Think Award, which when you consider it, is really about the notebook. It is the key to the Think Award. If your notebook's really good, if you're really, really good, you're going to be nominated for the Think Award in all likelihood. And there's things that have to be in it. And this year they've added some language. Strongly suggested criteria for the Think Award. I wonder how judges are going to look at the word strongly suggested. Team should flag 6 to 8 pages of the engineering section to support entries on the summary page. Engineering notebook should be organized and follow the formatting guidelines provided by FIRST, et cetera, et cetera. The Connect Award. Criteria there, it's about being gracious with everybody you meet as much as anything else. As I said, I'm going to skip through these because we have other things to cover. And I know you're all going to go back and read these. Rockwell Collins Innovate Award. It is that robot or that part of the robot that makes me say, wow. And I've seen some of those robots over the years. I saw this robot when I was judging at Worlds a few years ago that was powder coated all the way around. It was a gorgeous robot. And it worked real well too, but it was gorgeous. And it was designed well, and all the judges commented upon how beautiful it was. I don't remember if they won the award or not. The PTC Design Award. The important thing you need to know about this award is that use of PTC's Creo is not required to be eligible. However, teams that use them in their design are given extra consideration for this award. The extra consideration, I have to tell you, isn't very much extra. If 2 teams are exactly equal and one used Creo and one didn't, we'd give the slight consideration to the Creo user. The Motivate Award. Does anybody know what the Motivate Award really is about? Enthusiasm was the answer. Sounds like a good guess, doesn't it? It's going out there and motivating other people. It's It's going out in the community. It's going out to other teams. It's going out to the universe. We have some suggested criteria again. They got added this year. All team members participate in their presentation and actively engage with the judges. Take that to heart. Team shows a creative approach to materials that market the team end first. Creativity is well rewarded. The Control Award. You heard a really nice presentation about control elements this morning, so I'm not going to belabor it. The most important thing you better remember about it is it's a self-nominated award. If you don't fill out the piece of paper and we don't find it in the front of your notebook, you will not be considered. And if you come back later and say, but we self-nominated, and we say, where was it? You probably have a problem. Again, some more strongly suggested criteria. Advanced software techniques and algorithms are encouraged, and control components should work reliably. All true. And those advanced software techniques and algorithms do not have to just be in autonomous mode. Using techniques and software creatively in teleop is well regarded by judges. Judges understand why that's important. Why all of a sudden that you have a counter, that you use the counter to count how far out it goes so you can reliably drop your blocks into the basket because it stops, the motor stops when it gets there because of the encoder. Good idea. There's 2 optional awards. There is the Promote Award. And this year, the theme this year is, this is how I plan to pay first forward. Both the Promote Award and the Compass Award, they're optional. In Oregon, we only grant them at the championship level, but it doesn't mean you have to be at the championship as a team who got there in order to submit it for these 2 awards. And I put together a panel of judges to look at these, people who are professionals in the video industry oftentimes. I've gotten them from a lot of places. I've had filmmakers and video producers, etc., on the panels, and they take a long, hard look at it. So be aware, read the rules, and be really cognizant of the fact that there are very definite submission guidelines. So you have to follow the rules. And that one, you don't find all those rules in the manuals. Some of them you'll get advised of during the season, where we tell you how you send them to me, to a Dropbox account, etc., because they're way too big usually for you to email. And I can't watch them on my TV set at home, and if I can't see them, I can't see them. And everybody gets upset. And that gives us a hint as to how well it's going to show on the great big screen at the tournament. The Compass Award is about, the subheading this year is a beacon and leader in the journey of the First Tech Challenge. What you're doing is nominating a coach or mentor for an award. You're saying this person was really special to our team because of X. Usually a whole bunch of X. The video highlights the mentor's contribution, coaches or mentors' contribution to the team, and demonstrate what sets the mentor or coach, doesn't say that, but it is, apart. Again, submission guidelines, same type of thing. You'll get an email telling you what you need to know. Okay, interactions with judges. They happen anytime during the season. League play, judges might come and visit you. I might come and visit you. I've been to a lot of league tournaments a lot of league plays over the years and league tournaments. It happens randomly at a tournament. You might bump into them in the hallway on your way in the morning. During the scheduled interview, we'll talk about the scheduled interview again in a few minutes. In the pits, if they come and visit you, someone should always be in your pit, except when you're in judging. If a judge goes to look for you and you're not in your pit, the judge will make a note to come back. And if the judge comes back 10 minutes later after doing whatever else they had to do and you're not there, they'll probably make another note and say, I should go and visit them again. And if you're not there a third or a fourth or a fifth time, the likelihood of them finding you then gets probably a lot smaller. And I've had that happen at the Western Regionals before, where teams just seem to disappear. Didn't work very well for them, as I recall. It happens during your competition rounds. We watch the rounds. Somebody watches the rounds. They make notes about how well your robot does all those things it said it was going to do, and how well you interact with other people while you're doing it. Yeah, I'm about to go there. Yeah, I'm about to go there. I'll get there. Preparation for judging. It says there, be yourself. Anybody ever read Hamlet? To thine own self be true. If you go into that room and you're trying to be somebody that you're not, you'll come across so phony to us, it'll make my head spin. Go in there, be yourselves. The best presentations I've ever seen, and I have seen hundreds, if not thousands, presentations from teams. And the teams that come in there, and they're excited, and you should be, and they're being themselves, it just comes across so beautifully. And the teams that are trying, they saw some video of somebody in Florida, they saw this judging video on YouTube, and they were impressed with them, and they try to act like them. Falls flat like a stone. Don't do it. Consider your audience. You know who your audience is. It's the judges. Appeal to them. Try and engage with them. What does your audience want to know about your team? They want to know if you meet the criteria in the manual to give you an award. You'll know what the criteria are. They're in the manuals. Prepare a presentation. Not all teams recognize this fact. You go in and you will have time to talk to them. Have a presentation down cold. You might not have to give it all, but have it cold. Practice it. Heard Hotwire today explain how they practiced it before they would go. They would spend time doing it. They'd do it again. They'd rework it. They'd do it again. No one asked them if they videotaped it and watched the videotape of it, but that sometimes works really well. Effective communication. If someone asks you a question, answer it fully but succinctly. Keep it as brief as you can and fully answer the question. Because the quicker you get those answers out, and I shouldn't say quicker, the more precisely you get those answers out, the better their chance is to get more questions in at the end, somewhere in the interview. Remember, the panel judges are considering you for all of the awards. In some years past in Oregon, we've had panel judges and pit judges who would work simultaneously. No pit judges this year. One of the changes in Oregon, sorry, I was told. I do what I'm told from the mothership. Oh yeah. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have informal contacts with judges. It's just that what we've done in the past is we've scheduled pit interviews for judges to talk to you about some of the awards, and that won't happen separately this year. If they're out talking to you, it's either they happen to find you in the pit and feel like having a conversation, which I do all the time with teams, or they're back in the afternoon out there talking with teams. Consider your strengths and what you want to emphasize to the judges. What do you want them to know about you? If your team is really strong in outreach, focus on it with them. Point it out. Tell them how many that you've been to 37 events this season. Don't miss that. Let them know that information. The FTC judging session self-reflection sheet. Use it. Look at it. It actually makes sense. Might take a little while to get used to, I have a feeling, but use it. Now, I said there was one judge change this year. There's another judge change this year. I have been an advocate for giving written or verbal feedback to teams at tournaments for years. I lost. First has told us we may not, shall not, will not. You will get no written feedback from judges in Oregon. You will get none at regionals. You will get none at World. And we're not supposed to even give you verbal feedback. I lost the fight. Sorry, guys. We both lost the fight. We both advocated strongly that we think this is an educational program and that feedback was important. But I do what I'm told sometimes. Just ask my wife. She'll agree with sometimes. Format of the presentation and interview process. Qualifying tournaments. 10 minutes with the judges. They then have 3 to 5 minutes, depending on tournament. Go ahead, what is it? The Connect and Motivate judging will happen in the judging interview process. There will not be separate judges going out in the morning to talk to teams about Connect and Motivate. Is that clear? Right. Right, that is correct. The judges go out and interview for all the awards after the initial deliberation. Okay. The qualifying tournaments, 10 minutes with the judges. Championship tournaments, about 15 minutes with the judges. Time starts when you enter the room or when you were supposed to enter the room. The tournaments stay on time. Use your time wisely. Think about what you want them to know. Have a planned presentation, planning to use about 2/3 of your time. But that doesn't mean you might not find a judging panel, that you walk in and within 30 seconds of starting to talk, you start getting peppered with questions. If it happens, and I'm going to tell them not to do that, but if it happens, answer the question briefly, succinctly, and try and go back to your presentation. If they keep asking you questions, keep answering questions. They're the judges. But I think most of them will give you at least some time to give your prepared presentation. Your prepared presentation, you really should think about who was most active in certain activities and have them be the presenter on that. Remember, we were talking earlier about, for one of the awards, that everybody participated in the presentation. Take that to heart. Answer the questions as a team. I always like when I go into a presentation and a judge will ask a question and somebody will start answering it and then they'll defer to another team member who will say, oh yeah, Becky, she spent a lot of time out in the community and she should tell you about that. Other contacts with judges. Judges visit with teams in the pits in the afternoon. They observe the teams throughout the day. They talk to teams while they're waiting to compete on the field. So you'll see them, talk to them. They're usually really nice people. Concluding thoughts. This is a copy of the FTC core values. Read them again. Think about them. Spend some time with them. It is what separates FTC from a whole bunch of other engineering type programs that are out there for people in your age range. It is what makes it special. I want to thank you for the opportunity to meet and spend some time with you today. You guys inspire me, and I thank you for that. And in the course of this season, can you do something for me and for each other and for the community? Help make FIRST loud. That'll make Kathy Swider happy too. Remember always to thank your coaches, your mentors, and your parents for everything they provide for you, including these opportunities. And one last thing. Please succeed in life and make the world a better place. I'd appreciate that. I'm happy to take any questions. I know I'm running a little long, so you can ask me questions now. I'll be around the rest of the day. You can email me. My email address is my name, robert@swider.com. But in the subject line, you sure better put FTC judging question. Because as I mentioned, I'm an attorney, and my September and October look really busy. When you walk into the interview room, come in Introduce the team. Introduce, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm the team captain, and this is da-da-da, please introduce yourself, and go down the line and introduce yourselves. And then somebody should start talking. You know, here's our robot. This is our robot. This is Bob, our robot, and he's really special because of this, and this is what we really like about Bob, and and just start talking. Tell them what they want. Tell them what you want them to know. If your robot is, okay, you might not want to start with your robot. You might want to talk about all those activities you did in the summer to learn about programming and promote FIRST in the community. I don't ever try to prejudge what they're going to come in and tell me. Smile. Be polite. I remember in FLL once watching two kids punch each other in the arm the whole damn interview. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that word. The whole interview. And it was like, what are you doing? Stop that. But, you know, they were kids. FLL, they were young. They didn't know enough yet. But, you know, be engaging. Pay attention. Eye contact's always important. Judges appreciate it. They appreciate if they recognize that you're talking to them and that you're paying attention to them and they're paying attention to you. Next question. Yes, Trina. How much? What are the proportions of outreach to spend your time you spend on the robot? There's no, I can't give you a guideline. There is none. It's whatever works for your team. There's a team in Sherman County, Oregon. It's the Sherman County Junior Senior High School. I think there's about 200 students in the school. And there are many more cows in Sherman County than there are people. Do they do a whole lot of outreach outside of that building? No. Should they? Probably not. You know, they try and they do some, but, you know, it really depends upon where you are, especially in Oregon, which is such a diverse state, and what kind of opportunities you have. But you guys are in Medford. You have the opportunity to do outreach, and I know you do some. Do some more. You know, go out there and make FIRST loud. Talk about it. Tell people about it. Tell them why you like it. If I'm speaking, I don't like to be interrupted. Try not to interrupt judges. A lot of them don't like it. And two, don't interrupt your teammates. Another pointer that goes with that is if your teammate's talking, pay attention to them. Look at them. Know what they're talking about. Be able to follow up intelligently. If you have something to add, offer it after they're finished speaking. That is pet peeves. That would probably be two. One of the best engineering notebooks I ever saw, I was at World Festival. The team came in. It was a handwritten notebook. It started when they were leaving the World Festival the year before, and it ended when they were getting off the train to go into the building where the World Festival was being held that year. So it was a pretty complete summary of what their journey, wasn't it? I noticed the videotapes running. If you don't submit a promote award for the championships in the state this year, I'm going to be disappointed because you make a really nice video and you can come up with the way to use the theme.